It is a Monday edition of Donovan and Dino right here on WKYC.com. Also on our Facebook Live and YouTube, as well as our WKYC app, along with Jimmy Donovan, the voice of the Browns. I'm Dave DeNatale. And I know we were kind of expecting an unorthodox game, a shootout, if you will, between the Browns and Cowboys, Jimmy. But at times it felt like science fiction down there between the two teams yesterday. But hey, the Browns were able to pick up the win, and that was the most important thing.
Absolutely. And I think it's even more than a win for them. I think it becomes a signature win for them. And they have been in need of that. I mean, even in Baker Mayfield's rookie year, when they got hot at the end of that 1 year, I mean, there were victories over Cincinnati. In fact, there were a couple of them over Cincinnati, but the Bengals were the Bengals at that point in time, and they were really struggling. Denver was really struggling. Cam Newton couldn't throw the football when Carolina came into town. Atlanta was starting to really struggle at the point that the Browns beat them. And last year was a struggle all season long, and they really didn't have a signature win because even when they beat the Steelers in Cleveland, remember, there was no Roethlisberger. James Conner got hurt. Juju Schuster got hurt. So I think the team's been lacking a signature win. And so to get it over the Cowboys and to get it where they got it in Dallas at AT&T Stadium, I think finally they have arrived as people take them very, very seriously now.
Yeah, kind of what we had hoped we were going to see last year kind of feels like it's materializing, that all these great weapons that the team has stockpiled offensively and in defense, Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, 2 first-round picks, 2 top 10 picks. They all really showed up and showed out yesterday. And, you know, you sat there and you said, this is what they envisioned when they got all these draft picks and made the trade for Landry and made the trade for Beckham. This is what they hoped they were going to see, the stars shining on the biggest stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very accurate, and I think that's the way it is. And I think the best thing they did, Dino, was that they rebuilt their offensive line. And that offensive line is playing probably as well, if not better, than any other offensive line in the NFL right now. Watermark for them because that's a real week for them. So to go out and get Jack Conklin, to coach up Wyatt Teller, to draft Jedrick Wills, to put those guys together with real pros like Bitonio and Treader. But then the key addition is Bill Callahan coming in to coach that offensive line. That offensive line has really become a great, great weapon for the Browns. And I think, you know, you witnessed what happened yesterday. When they really wanted to move the football, they were able to move it any way they wanted to do it. Now, you know, they definitely took their foot off the gas pedal late in the game, and, you know, we can talk about that in a couple of minutes. But still, the offensive line allowed them to do anything they wanted to do with anybody in the game. After they had lost Nick Chubb, I mean, Kareem Hunt comes in, and he does what Kareem Hunt does. But then the other two guys to come in, Dearness Johnson and Dontrell Hilliard, to come in and be able to run so effectively was just amazing. And, yeah, I give the two backs a lot of credit, but I really give the offensive line a tremendous amount of credit because they are really playing at a very, very high level. It's the best Browns offensive line I have seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, I like maybe when they had Steinbeck and Joe Thomas in 07, maybe. But yeah, I would agree with you, Jimmy. I mean, it's dominant. I kind of buried the lead on Nick Chubb because, well, we're in a good mood today. You know, your Browns won. But we did get the news from Kevin Stefanski today, Jimmy, that it's an MCL injury for Nick Chubb. And while it's not going to be season-ending, it's going to cost him a few weeks. It could have been worse, but you know, the Browns are going to have to carry on, and this running back by committee, like you talked about, that came through yesterday, they're going to have to keep doing that for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I would think probably 6 at a minimum. I think you have to go to what happened. You know, it's probably in the same range that what happened with Mack Wilson in training camp. I know that was a hyperextension, but still it was a hyperextension and a sprain of the MCL, and that's what this sounds like. It's in the diagnosis on his knee from yesterday. You know, it didn't look good when he went down. When they take the helmet off right away, that's a pretty good sign that they're in a lot of pain and that they know there's something wrong. And that certainly was the visual that you got when Chubb went down yesterday. So I would say 6 weeks. that was really when you walk back how long it took Mac Wilson to get back, and he's really just back now. He played a little bit more yesterday than he did last week against Washington. It really was 6 weeks. So that would put you into November. And if the Browns are hanging around there, as we hope that they are, you would get Nick Chubb back, and for a very, very important part of the season, a stretch run where the weather turns, and with a good offensive line, you want to be running the football anyway, especially in home games here in Cleveland. And it's not a good situation right now. There are a lot of teams dealing with this situation. Dino, this is really one of the reasons why I think a lot of people pump the brakes in an NFL organization before they throw a lot of money at running backs. And that has nothing to do with Nick Chubb's talent, which, as you well know, I have a tremendous appreciation for. But I think they take a look at it and they say the position, the wear and tear on the body with the guys that play that position, it's only a matter of time before they get hurt. And then what are you sitting with? I mean, you're sitting with a Saquon Barkley situation. Eckler got hurt yesterday.
Right.
I mean, James Conner has been in and out of the lineup. He's been out of the lineup more than he's been in the lineup with the Steelers. And now Nick Chubb, who, remember, had a serious knee injury at Georgia back in his early time when he was in college. So I know he'll do everything he can to get back in. I know the coach knows that too. But it's a big loss for them, but one that they are – if they got hit anywhere for injury, running back is something that I think they might be able to handle.
Yeah, I was a little concerned because as that third and fourth quarter was developing, late, third quarter, Browns lead 41-14, life is good. As they're struggling to move the ball in the fourth quarter, Kareem Hunt was not on the field. And as we all know, he was questionable even to play with the groin injury. And obviously, he couldn't get all the reps. But it wasn't until the Browns put him in on that reverse that we finally saw him play in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, there's a lot of attention on him. And I think it's one of the reasons why Beckham is able to have the success he does. But just to the bigger point, the Browns are capable of handling this injury, but you hope that Kareem Hunt can get healed up quickly since he's going to have to do the lion's share of the work. And there is a difference between Hunt and everybody else.
Yeah, there really is. I think he will get better and better now. And the other good thing is he'll be on grass this week going up against Indianapolis, and he'll be more comfortable on that. That was a tough turf yesterday. I mean, there were people slipping all over the place. Chubb even went down and slipped on a play just before he got hurt. I would say this, that I think that there's a possibility that you will see Kareem Hunt explode right now, because this business of being the number 2 back, and he is the number 2 back here behind Nick Chubb, I think that's fine, and it was his welcome back into the NFL, and he knew that he had a lot of dues to pay after what happened off the field with his situation and getting basically cut loose by Kansas City because of that. But this guy is a number 1 back. I mean, this guy can explode, and I would expect now that he will really wrap his arms around that role, and you could see a whole different speed to the Browns offense with him becoming the primary back. I think he does it well. He's a great teammate. He and Chubb are incredibly close. They train together. They talk together. They root for each other. And that's all good. But right now, the Browns are going to need him to really take over as the lead back. And it's something that I think he will handle very, very well. I think he will explode with that role.
Well, I would agree with you. He certainly has the history of doing that. All right, so let's get to the crucial point in the game. The Browns, after being up 27, and I really thought that field goal that they got late in the third quarter to go up 41-14, I thought, okay, I feel good now. They would need 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns and a boatload of 2-point conversions to come back on the Browns. I felt pretty good at that point. What did you see as all of a sudden foot comes off gas, Cowboys offense fast breaks down the field, and the Browns offense, I think they got 1 first down, then it was a 3-and-out, then a 3-and-out, and then all of a sudden it's 41-38.
Well, what I saw was it was something that flashed through my mind that I have seen this happen to them before in two instances. Butch Davis is leading the Browns to the playoffs. They're at Soldier Field in Chicago, and Courtney Brown has had a Myles Garrett kind of game in that particular game. And the Bears were having one of those magical years where they, came back in late in games and won games, got them into overtime and won ball games. And the Browns had a 2-touchdown lead with about 50 seconds left to go in the game and blew the game because they took their foot off and, off the gas pedal and tried to nurse the clock and didn't get it done and didn't recover an onside kick and, gave up a big pass in the end zone and lost the game. And then when Rob Chudzinski was the head coach, the same thing happened. In New England, I remember they had a 12-point lead with about 1:10 left to go in the game, and they lost that game. So I've seen the movie before, and believe me, it was going through my mind. I didn't like what I was seeing. Here's the other thing. In no way can the Browns get away with doing that because of their defense, Dino. I mean, it's not there yet. And I don't know if they're going to get there, but it's definitely not there yet where they can sit back and rely and say, okay, we've got 41 points. We're fine. We're going to hold serve here and we're going to win the game. And especially with the history of the Cowboys in that stadium, they've done that before. They did it a few weeks ago against the Atlanta Falcons. They were down 20-0 at one point and down a couple of scores late in the game and pulled the game out. And it was really starting to lean that way. Here's what I think really disappointed me. Mayfield. I really didn't think he played well at that point in the game. And I think then when they decided, hey, listen, we have to get a first down here. We have to get a first down. That's when they took the ball out of Baker's hands. And they gave the ball on that reverse to OBJ, and he took it 50 yards for the touchdown. He really took it about 65 yards for the touchdown because he took it so far back. But, Dino, there was a possession before that where the Browns went 3 and out. They ran the ball on first down. They threw on second down and missed. And then he missed Beckham wide open on third down. And the entire possession was 15 seconds. And if you're going to nurse the clock, that ain't the way to do it. So I didn't think he played well at that juncture in the game to move that off. Tight end, hit back out of the backfield. He came wild, and he was missing guys, and you got to hit the pass to Beckham down the sideline because that would have been the knockout punch. I mean, it turned out they got a knockout punch in a very different way. So I think they wisely took the ball out of his hands late in the game. And that's something, that he's going to have to be better at. He's going to have to, he was doing everything else well. He was keeping them in the huddle for long periods of time, working the play clock, working the game clock. But at some point, you got to move the team and get first downs. If you're going to play your defense that way, on the other side, your offense has to get first downs. They must, maintain possession. And he didn't do a very good job at that.
Were you surprised that after getting the touchdown to go behind 41-38 with about a little under 4 minutes, I think it's like 3:41 or 3:42 to go, with a timeout and the 2-minute warning, were you surprised Mike McCarthy elected to it wasn't a very good, if it was an onside, it was a lousy onside, a squib or whatever it was, and the Browns ended up taking over at the 50-yard line. I didn't see that coming because I thought that the way the Cowboys had been playing against the Browns offense at that point and the way the Cowboys offense was moving down the field, there was no need to do anything else but do a normal kickoff and try to get the ball back in good field position.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is their special teams coordinator, John Fossil, is a really aggressive special teams coordinator. He likes doing that not only at that point in the game, but he wouldn't mind doing it in the first quarter of a game. I mean, they had 2 failed fake punts earlier this year. They do that. I mean, they do that, and they do it at any point in the game. So I wasn't surprised that they did it because I saw McCarthy go over and have kind of a sideline meeting with him after, when they were coming up with a decision as to what they were going to do. The other thing, I just think that they kind of felt that the Browns were playing very tight and they were going to commit a mistake. And they almost got that when Donovan Peoples-Jones, allowed that kick to roll until it finally got over the end line and went into the end zone. So I think they felt that they had the Browns in kind of a tight situation where maybe they are going to commit a mistake. And we're going to probably hold them that they're not going to get the first down anyway. So if we keep them on their side of the field, we'll be okay, which they really didn't because, I mean, Dontrell Hilliard returned it to midfield, and at the 50, they're okay. And if the Browns were going to have to punt again, you would like to think that Jamie Gillen could have gotten them, hemmed in pretty close. So what you're saying, yeah, that didn't cross my mind because they were so aggressive, and they had been so aggressive in the weeks leading up to the game too. I mean, they like doing that kind of stuff.
It's interesting to kind of put a cap on the show. We had a bunch of people on Twitter and such reach out, and knowing that we were going to be talking today. Fans always want to put things into context and perspective. And with you, they'll say, "Where does this rank among games and moments for you?" But I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, you've had some great road wins, a couple of those Hail Marys that they got in '99 and 2002, but. This has to be one of the more satisfying road victories the Browns have had in the last, in this 20-year run or 21-year run here since they've returned to the NFL.
Yeah, I think it really is, again, because of where it happened and who it happened against. And I know that wasn't Roger Staubach playing yesterday, or Troy Aikman, or Tony Romo for that matter. But that guy's pretty good. I mean, he threw for over 500 yards in the game, and they have a lot of star power, and especially it's definitely tilted more on the offensive side than the defensive side. So to go in there and realize that you're going to have to go in and score a lot of points, you're not going to win 20-17 this year against the Cowboys in Dallas. I mean, you're going to lose 50-20 probably, more than you're going to win 20-17. I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's the way they are made up this year. But they've got a lot of firepower. So to go into the game and say, boy, the Browns are probably going to have to score 40. I mean, that's a mouthful for the Cleveland Browns to have to digest because, they've had their problems through the years. But to go in and do it, I think, I think if this season goes the way it's starting to go, you may look back on this one as the launch point. I mean, you needed to beat the Bengals, and they did. You should beat Washington, and they did. But I don't think a lot of people gave them a shot yesterday to win going into that game with the way Dallas can put points up on the board with all those wide receivers. And to be honest with you, the problems the Browns have had on defense. And really, for 90% of the game, down the game, I think you might look on this one as a great one. That if this season has the trajectory of going forward and they stay in the hunt in the division, and certainly for a postseason, a wild card playoff spot, this might be the one that got them going.
Absolutely. My friend, it's always a pleasure. Great call yesterday. The OBJ hat trick was my favorite. I'm glad that he was able, as we thought he might get that touchdown earlier, as you said, on the overthrow by Baker. I'm glad he got that for you, and I will look forward to seeing you later on. You'll be on What's New, What Matters Most, Front Row, all Donovan all the time later on tonight. So we'll look forward to getting your analysis later.
All right, Dino. Thanks.